Now, if you want a hatchback, but you don't want something too big, or you don't want something too small, you go for the one that's just right. And that just right car is the Kia Rio. It goes up against the Volkswagen Polo. And basically the biggest question anyone has on their mind is if they should go German or should they go with the Koreans with the Kia Rio. So in this review, I'll walk you around the outside features, the inside features, take it for a drive, and let you know if you should buy it, consider it, or leave it. My name's Cameron, this is Product Review Cars. Let's get into it. And just before I move on, make sure you're subscribed because it's the best way to support the channel. I know a lot of you aren't subscribed and that's cool, but if you want to show your support and see more Australian new car reviews just like this one, please hit subscribe, hit that notification bell because it really helps out the channel. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Now let's talk price. You can get into a Kia Rio for as little as $21,490 drive away, but this one here is the GT line. It's the top of the range one, it's got more features, and this thing starts from $27,990 drive away. So what do you get for your money? Well, you get a few different things. This one here comes in this striking yellow paint, which I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of, but hey, here it is, and it does look quite stand outish. You've also got some sculpted lines in the bonnet which look good. You've got daytime LED running lights. You've also got LED fog lamps. You've got a bit of a sports bumper going up the front, some blacked out elements here on the grille and up on the side mirrors. I actually do like how this thing looks from the front. Along the side, we have some 17-inch alloy wheels, which do look quite good, and I really like how these look on this car. They contrast very well with this yellow paint. We have some sports side skirts going on here with some black elements down the bottom and some nice sculpted lines along the side. So this sort of reminds me a little bit of a Megane RS in terms of the black contrast with the yellow paint. And then around back we have a black boot lip spoiler, which is quite sporty. We also have some very cool tail lights, which I am a big fan of in terms of the design, some badging, a little reversing camera, and then we've got a sports diffuser at the back, but there are some very real tailpipes out the back. And for those wondering, here's what they sound like. Now the Kia Rio does have a manual boot, but it's easy enough to open, and you have some grab handles here on both sides to make it easy to close. Now in here you have 325 liters of boot space, but go ahead and remove the little parcel shelf here and you reveal, you can fold the seats down in a 60-40 split to reveal 980 liters of boot space, so you can throw backpacks like this all the way through. So there's plenty of space in a small hatch like this if it's just going to be you and maybe one other person transporting a lot of stuff. But you can at least carry 4 people and some additional cargo quite comfortably if you're going around on a shorter trip. Now inside the Kia Rio, I found it to be pretty pleasant. I actually really like this interior for a number of different reasons. 1, the design, 2, the materials, 3, the connectivity and the comfort. So this is the key right here. It's a little switchblade type key. It doesn't look like the new Kia keys, it looks like the old ones, but nonetheless, still feels pretty good in the hand and has the new Kia logo on it. You put this into the ignition barrel and away you go. We have a touchscreen thrown up here on the dash. It has wireless Apple CarPlay, which is quite good, but you can also connect your phone, or you can charge through a 12 volt or 180 volt little cigarette lighter or little barrel, whatever you want to call it, here up front. So it is really good to use Apple CarPlay on this. I haven't had any issues connecting to this screen, only when you go into like underground car parks, like deep underground, and going through toll booths for some reason really doesn't play well with the connection between your phone and this, but those are very small interruptions, and overall it's a very pleasant driving experience using this screen. And then you've got a bunch of hard buttons below it. You've also got your tuner knob and your volume knob, so there's actually some physical buttons here. We have analog dials here in front of the driver, a little display in there to show you all your different types of information, and yes, it does have a digital speedometer. We also have our climate controls here in the middle, very easy to operate, some nice little storage bits down below with some grippy textures to stop small items flying around. We have some buttons here. Even though it's the top trim model, we still have some blank buttons, which is a little bit odd. We have a drive mode button where we can turn our parking sensors off quickly there. Shifter feels nice in the hand. I do like how it looks, although I'm not a big fan of the gloss touch plastic around the outside of it. Now we have a manual handbrake, so for those who are feeling a bit brave, yank that on when you're driving and see what happens. And then the seats here are very comfortable. I do like how these feel when I'm driving around. They're nice and supportive. They have a cloth insert, but they have this sort of like leather material on the outside with some white stitching and some white piping, so I am a fan of that. And the GT line gets this GT line specific wheel, which has a flat bottom, so it feels nice and sporty. And we also have this fake carbon fiber material up on the dash, which is textured and contoured in here as well. It looks quite good, although that's really the only place you're seeing it. Otherwise, there's a fair bit of scratchy plastics in this cabin, so that's just something to note that, yeah, you are saving a bit of money because you're paying less than 30 grand for a top of the range small hatch, but you just have to be aware that there are some smaller quality, issues in terms of like, you're not gonna get soft touch plastic everywhere. But if you're okay with this, then it's actually a pleasant interior. And you know what, there's enough soft materials on your armrests and here on the center console, here where you actually have a little bit of storage where I keep cables and stuff like that, that you never really feel like this is an issue. Now the back seat is a little cramped, my knee room isn't very good, and then my feet room's okay. Middle seat, very tight. I don't have much feet room at all, and my knees are very jammed in here. There is plenty of scratchy plastics back here as well, but at least I get a speaker grill, a cup holder, and automatic windows. I don't get a mat pocket as sitting behind the driver. I have to ask nicely on the person on the left to use their mat pocket. The seats in the back are very comfortable, but this really would be ideal for 2 to 3 people to go on a longer trip. 4 people might be a bit of a squeeze. 5 people, don't think about it. So I had to make a quick exit because the area where we film is flooding, and this is probably one of the worst weeks of weather we've had in a little while. So I'm getting the hell out of here using a 1-liter 3-cylinder petrol turbocharged motor producing 74 kilowatts and 172 newton meters of torque. And so that translates to around 61.8 kilowatts per ton here in the Kia Rio. Now, if you were to get a Volkswagen Polo, you still get the same type of motor, except you get 85 kilowatts and 200 newton meters, and you have 73.7 kilowatts per ton. So it's a bit of a conundrum. If you want more power, you'll go with the Polo, but is this power that we're getting in the Kia Rio enough? Well, let's find out. So initially, I'm just going to tell you what it's like to accelerate, to brake, and to corner. So acceleration, here we've got 3 drive modes. I'm just going to put it into normal to give it the most normal driving experience. We're going up this hill here. I'm going to slow down to a bit of a stop, and I'm going to stomp on it in 3, 2, 1. Interesting. Okay, so it's a bit of a delay from the dual clutch transmission in this car, and that is a bit of a gripe that I do have with this transmission. It's very relaxed, it's very smooth when you want it to drive calm, but when you want it to, be a bit more responsive and to change gears and whatnot, it's a little bit slow to the mark. So it's something that I'm not a huge fan of in this car, is this dual clutch transmission. Cornering wise, this nice small steering wheel and these Conti Sport Continental tires are really, really good at gripping in the wet. I do have traction control turned on and all the sorts, so we haven't got any sort of crazy traction elements happening here because I need all I can get to get out of this flooding valley. And so moving up here, the turbocharger feels strong in this motor. It feels pretty good. Now, if we need a brake, say if there's an emergency in front of us, I'm going to brake hard in 3, 2, 1. And those brakes stop pretty well. You can definitely feel the ABS starting to grind underneath you, and you do stop relatively well. I would like perhaps a bit more of an aggressive bite on that front, but it just means that day-to-day driving is a little less jumpy thanks to this sort of softer brake pedal. Now, with the sound isolation, I can hear plenty of road noise coming through, so it's not super quiet in here. And also, just because you're lower to the ground here, it makes driving across surfaces with lots of debris and, trying to get out of a certain situation just a little bit difficult. Coming into the filming location, there was a bit of a deeper puddle. I could just get into it, but literally over the hour that I was filming, it had gone too high, so I had to take an alternate route, which is this route out here. And it was just one of those things that that sort of annoyed me, and I sort of understand why people like SUVs a little bit more, is because I probably would have been able to get out of that if I had a slightly higher car, but because I chose to go with the smaller, sportier hatchback, I sort of paid the price by having to find the alternate route. But I have the more fun car to drive because it's lighter, lower to the ground, has a turbocharger, and I'm having a lot of fun getting out of here. And so the Kia Rio GT-Line just goes to show that less weight, a turbocharger, and a lower center of gravity is always more fun. So should you go ahead and buy one of these, consider it, or just leave it? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say buy one of these because the warranty period, the price point, and even at the top of the range model, I think this still delivers excellent value for money. And so with that, in 2022, with that being more relevant than ever, I think this is a fantastic option for someone looking for a bit more of an exciting small hatchback without having to go to something as expensive as, say, like an i20N, which is a little bit smaller, or going ahead and getting a Polo GTI, which is a lot more powerful and a little bit more expensive. So this sort of gives you that sort of mild upgrade over a boring small hatchback that doesn't really have any flavor, where this throws on a bit of a sports kit. You've also got that little exhaust out the back, you've got the dual clutch transmission, a turbocharged motor, a little bit more flavor in terms of the design on the inside. So it just makes it quite a good value proposition in that way. So I would go ahead and say buy one of these. And so with all that said, thank you so much for watching. My name's Cameron. This is Product Review Cars, and I'll see you in the next one.